record on my, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead now and change over to the circle. Let me do this. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at the circle, and it says, the space inside this circle represents my realm of knowledge. All that I think I know about whatever I think I know is depicted right here within this circle. I must keep in mind that there is more to know than what is within the circumference of my awareness. And this is always going to be the case. You can always learn. You know the deal. Life,
The
prosperity, and
screen is
good health
blank,
to
Carl.
everybody. Yes. Uncle Ujasanel.
The screen is blank, Carl.
Yes. You don't see my screen?
No, me neither.
No,
That's interesting. Let me see if we can do something about that. Thanks for telling me. All right, so let's do this. Now, what do you see? You see my screen now?
Uncle Johnson, yep.
Okay, a couple of buttons I forgot to push. Yes, life, prosperity, and good health, everybody. Uncle Johnson, the normal thing. Standard screen for us, we're metaphysical students, and we study everything that exists. We study nature. We study whether the world is real or merely an illusion. It's the fundamental view of the world around us, fundamental being a key word here. Because whether you're a student of metaphysics or not, you're a part of the fundamental view of the world. We know that the word God, and I'm going to slowly go through this and kind of do these. We got to understand where we are. We know that the word God was not originally ours. The word God came along with some other incidents in history, but it's the word that we use to denote creative force, creation, the powers that is, that which is above us, that which is more than us. And so we've been using the word God, and we're all used to using it, so we can continue to use it, understanding what it actually means. And so the definition of this thing that we call God is a two-letter word with three dots behind it, which means infinite. Is. If you define God, the answer is God is. We understand that any and everything you do, whatever form it's in, we've even talked a little bit about Satan and why God doesn't get rid of Satan. And it's this definition. So don't misunderstand what we're saying. Understand where we're going. Overstand where we're going. And the definition of God is a two-letter word, is. And because we are also made in the image of God, the word image meaning not hands and feet and arms and legs, but the ability, mind, the ability to imagine, thought, and is often followed by an affirmation or an adjective, which says that it identifies you. It's the person's identity, and it's a state or an action. It can be used as an affirmation to build self-esteem and to change any negative thoughts to positive, and vice versa. Understand that you're in control. So when you say I am, just like God is on a lower version of that, you and I are. And when we say it personally, I am. And when you say it, you say I am. And so understanding that we have that ability, and there'll be a little bit more of that too coming up. We understand that if God is, then I am in control. So it is about now that we take a few minutes just to close our eyes and just kind of relax and get away from some things we don't need to have on our thought patterns right now. And we exhale and we inhale the goodness, we inhale the gratitude, we inhale thanksgiving. And we understand that in holding that, we use it, and then we exhale something that we don't need anymore, carbon monoxide. And so if you will, just take a minute and take a breath, nice breath, and inhale. And when you get to the top of that breath, think about the I am for you. I am, whatever. Hold that, hold that, hold it. Not like you're holding your breath, but just hold it and then slowly, slowly let it go. Let it go. You don't need it. You've used it up. Let it go. One more time. Inhale. I am. It's up to you. Hold that. And then anything that you don't need right now, we're going to let it go. Breathe it out. Exhale it. Give it back to the universe for the cycle. One more time. Together, just inhale. Nice, deep breath. Strength. Gratitude, thanksgiving, appreciation. Hold that. And then slowly let it go. Let it go. Anything that you don't need now, let it go. Let it go. And just breathe. Now just breathe. Just breathe. This particular book, James Allen, and I wanted to do this now because we've done this book as a group. The name of the book is As a Man Thinketh. And if you don't have it, look in your some of us in the group, look in your stack of books, it's probably there. And if you don't have it, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it later. I have a PDF copy. So we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But I wanted to, we just got through talking about it. The effect of thought on your circumstances, not anything in particular, but the particulars of each one of us. In other words, each one of us have certain particulars that our thoughts actually have a lot to do with the circumstance itself. And I don't know if you guys can read this. Let me read it. Let me go ahead and read through this now. It says, a man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weeds will fall thereon and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend to garden his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impulsive thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with every increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, his circumstances, and his destiny. Who I am, where I am, and where I'm going. Character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one. And as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer condition of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This does not mean that a man's circumstances at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that for the time being, they are indispensable, can't get rid of them, to his development. So every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there. And in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err, makes no mistakes. This is just as true as of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are content with them. What I just said was this: what you think, you feel; what you feel, you vibrate; and anything you vibrate, you will attract it, like it or not. Whatever degree you have that feeling tied to that thought, you result in vibration. Metaphysical law. You can't get away from it. It is what it is. Remember that your memory is accumulative. That means that anything you've ever learned, you still got it. It's in subconscious. I'm going to use that word because we studied The Science of Mind. We studied Ernest Holmes' book. It's there. You can't get rid of it. The concept of the computer today is built on this concept of you, of me, and how we actually operate. When you learn something, you have learned it. It's there. And whether you can call it back, call it up, or in your conscious mind or not, is up to you. It's how strong that connection between your conscious and your unconscious might be. This is why when people get hypnotized, a lot of times they're made to do things and remember things that are in consciousness, in subconscious. And so they are made to bring those things out, because under the trance of hypnotism, you're able to bring that subconscious stuff out where you normally would not have been able to. Mind you, potentially you have the ability to do it. You do have the potential to do it. You have to work on it. It has to be something that you do as an individual. And you need to understand that memory is accumulative. And it is not episodic. It's not, I forgot. You may have forgotten consciously, but subconsciously it is still there. Some basic stuff in metaphysics. Last week, real quick, I'll go through these real quick. We talked a little bit about Christianity and how Christianity is tied to the religion based on the life and the teachings of Jesus Christ. And it's the largest religion in the world. Tons and tons of people are doing it. And I brought this up last week. We're just going to go over this real quick. Because the thing that stuck in my mind, and still does, is number 5. Because when we talk about different countries and different places, and you never would have thought that there were almost 70% of the people in Russia are Christians. I mean, they're reading the Bible. and we gotta take a close look and a real look at what's going on around you, because just because something's put in front of you doesn't mean you accept it without question. 70% is actually more than the 64% we have in this country, if you look at the high number of them. There's not as many people, but of the population, it's 64 here. It's 69, almost 70% in Russia. So I wanted to bring that out. The bottom line was, and here's something we want to remember, there's no definitive, after going through this and all these people believing in this life of this person, we find that there is no definitive archaeological evidence naming or proving the existence of this person. And so we talked a little bit about it last week. If anybody's got anything to say, we're going to move on if not, but I just wanted to lock that in. Go ahead, Curtis.
No, I'm sorry, Andre.
Yeah, I just wanted to lock that in because some of the things we say and we talk about and read about, if you sit down and actually think about them, the the bamboozling was done very well. It is not just done to us. As you can see, Russia was 70% of its people are believing in this thing and it doesn't make sense when you see the whole story of somebody who didn't even exist and somebody who has the reputation that this character has, and there's no record of him. I mean, feeding tons and tons of people, walking on water, the whole 9 yards, just the whole thing. Is something that you have to look at and understand that we can't keep wasting our time and efforts and thought and strength in your thinking on things that are of no value. Study them if you want to, there's good in the book. The Bible is a very, very good book. It's actually the top seller every year of books sold. And it has been for many, many, many years. So read the book, be acquainted with it, use it for like you need to, but do not. There are other books that are out there, and we talk about them all the time. So I just want to last week.
I beg to differ on saying that the Bible is a good book. It's really not. No, it's really not though. It's really not. It's really not a good book. It's actually terrible.
Yeah.
And if we go back to like any of my stuff that I bring up, I show you where they get it from. So the fact that this what a person would have to say it in mind. Why would I deal with secondary if I have access to the primary? Not only have access to the primary, but I'm actually more connected to the primary than the secondary. We have nothing to do with anything in that Bible. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Matter of fact, I'm finishing up a couple of things. And in one of my writings, I'm describing how Africa in the whole is cursed in the Bible.
Yes.
The Bible is anti-African. So on that note, on that account, no, the Bible is not a good book. It's not a good book at all. It's an important book because just like you showing about the percentages, the different places, the Russia thing doesn't bother me as much as the Nigerian or the other African nations. The Russians are doing exactly what they think they should be doing. They're dealing with something that is in the imagery of them.
Right. I agree.
Why is Nigeria doing it? Why is Benin doing it?
Ethiopia and South Africa.
Why is Ethiopia? And just because we have the Coptic churches in Ethiopia and they cut the stone church out of the stone and got one of the oldest Bible, that's all great. But the fact of it is, it still don't have nothing really to do with anybody.
Yeah.
When we talk about, because we mentioned that earlier today, that about inclusion, illusion of inclusion, what religion is part of that inclusion, illusion of inclusion.
Yeah.
Remember at one time, they obviously told you the Bible wasn't about you when they took people from Africa. You didn't have no parts in it. They put you in dungeons, and right on top of the dungeons, they had church.
Yeah.
So before they started dealing with the Indians and realized that the Indians was giving them a lot of trouble, people like De La Casa came in and a priest and said that we need to be a little bit more graceful with the Indians, and save their soul and this and that. But in the same breath, he mentioned how well they can use Africans because they don't have a soul. So we have to look at it. Why was this Bible or this book used as a weapon against Africans and uh of abroad or in the continent? Why was it? It's because, and I'll leave it at this and I'll end it like this. It's because Africans, again, as the progenitor of all, we brought civilization to everybody, including spirituality and religion. And so when the Europeans trampled themselves in there, stumbled themselves into the land, they seen a whole bunch of culture and spirituality that they was not used to. It was actually, you know, in awe of what they seen. They seen how the women was revealed in so many different cultures. How children was revealed in so many different cultures, or how important that was. How they held up the elders in different cultures and stuff like that. So we have to look at it. I'm a person that I attack the Bible in that way. I don't try to disrespect people, because that's a finicky thing when you're dealing with their religion. But the truth is, again, we don't really have nothing to do with that. That's not a culture that was for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Let me say this too, and we can move on, but I didn't say it was a moral book. I said it's a good book. I still think it's a good book you should read. We're all reading it anyway. You're studying. It is a book that you should look at, should read, should go through it. The better you understand it, the better off you might be. It's a deep study. But yeah, when I say it's a good book, it is not a moral book. When it's not a book of goodness, I did not mean that. So if I said it that way, I want to make sure that that's understood. And I think in your load of books, when you have a load of books on the shelf, you should have one. It's very important that you do.
yeah, yeah. But you could definitely keep it next to a Tom Clancy book,
That's right. I agree.
and
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 these
and and,
spades.
and next to and the other side should be next to a Harry Potter's book.
Yeah, I agree.
The
So I
the kind of yeah, the kind of writings that we should really be really into is, stuff like Maximum of Ptah Hotel.
yeah,
The oldest complete book in history. There's no book older than the Maximum of Ptah Hotel.
I agree.
When we talk about Proverbs, they literally stole word for word words that came from the Maximum of Hotep. So the question again, do you deal with the secondary that tells you this, or do you go to the source where they get it from? That's going to present it in a much stronger way, by the way.
There's a
I'm a,
there's
uh,
there's a book called Stolen Legacy, and we've gone over it in our book. Um, I don't know if everybody bought it. I strongly recommend that you buy it or look at the book or read the book, because it's not just the Bible. It's been all of everything that's happened in history down from Plato. It's everybody. It's everything. And when you read the Bible, it's good to know that I'm reading something that, well, is it plagiarized when you don't get permission to do it? But here's a book that is, quote, one of the best sellers of all time, and the book is not original.
right. But why is it the best seller? If we really going to talk about it, let's really talk. Why is it the best seller? It's the best seller because they brought to the masses of people with by blood and sword and force. And on the other side of that, you got scrupulosity, which is just in the layman term is you stuck between heaven and hell. You don't want to go to hell. So you do whatever you got to do to go to heaven. Rightfully so. That's the human nature. You don't want pain, you want pleasure. But real spirituality don't make you go into divineness. We all have the choice to be divine or be something else. And when you deal with the Bible, it's only one way. You got the brackets on your eyes, and you only need to look at it this way. And you must not ask no questions. Anything to tell you to not ask no questions, you have to kind of look at it with the side eye. You have to be incredulous to that. You have to. You have to ask questions. So, that's, we have to look at it. You look at the Crusades. I showed y'all a picture of the Department of the Department of War with Pete Hegseth, where he has the Crusader. Do y'all remember the Crusader cross on his chest and the words Jesus Delias, God wills it. It's the reason why I showed y'all that, because they're making it fit around a narrative of what all they doing. But when you look at the Crusader mark, that is a mark of bloodshed that we kill in the name of God, that we slaughter all those that don't follow what we follow. Again, real divinity don't make you go into it. Every person got to find their own and come into their own, and religion, Abrahamic religions don't allow you to do that. It's pretty much made up for you in one way. This is what it is. And if you don't follow this way, in many sectors, you damn, you going to hell. You're what's the word you like to use? That you're a heretic. You like to use.
Heretic.
I think you like how it folds out your mouth. But but you're right though. You become a heretic. You become a heathen, like Esther used to say to Fred on Severance. So you're a heathen. You every ad hominem that can be thrown at you that's going to make you feel bad about you not following what everybody else is following. Remember the Paneri Indians, Dad? Did they you ever tell them about the Paneri Indians?
Yeah, we did. We talked about it. We did talk about it.
Well, the Paneri Indians is a great example of that. How they went into their area, the people, they tried to show them about God and Jesus, and they didn't know nothing about none of that. They had their own spiritual systems for thousands of years. Then these
Missionaries.
very smart missionaries thought, you know what? We can't go in there like that. What we need to do is go back and rewrite the Bible and write the Paneri Indians in there and show how the Paneri Indians is the one that crucified, not the Romans, but the Paneri Indians crucified Jesus. So when they brought it back to them and they interpreted it and let them know, they was like, oh no, our ancestors did that. Wait a minute. For many years, y'all didn't even know nothing about Jesus. So now you look at 2026 and you look up Paneri Indians, they have a section of Christian Paneri Indians.
I forget the split, but the split is amazing how there's a good percentage of them who are now Christian.
No, that's what I just said. They have a Christian section of Paneri Indians,
right,
that follow this, basically the same book, saying that they the ones that helped crucify Jesus.
Yeah.
Think about that, y'all.
Yeah, it's
Did they not kind of do that to the Africans?
And the reason behind it, the ultimate reason behind it has always been the same. Because they knew. And our ancestors, this phrase, the handwriting is on the wall, knew that, which is why they can't get a lot of things off the wall now. It's done on purpose. It is definitely done on purpose. I wanted to mention something here. Number 7, the Republic of the Congo. Tomorrow, they're actually playing soccer. They have not been, I'm just throwing this out real quick. They have not been around the playoffs for soccer in 50 years. And they are going to play Portugal. It's ironic that Portugal is the first, the church gave Portugal the first okay to do the slaves, but they're playing tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I don't know what station or what channel, but it's a big thing because in Portugal, the number one star player is like 41 years old. But that game is tomorrow for those of you who might be interested. I'm not a soccer follower, but I do intend to watch the game tomorrow. I just wanted to throw that out. I see that they're on there, and they're 96% Christian.
And to me, that's a worse stat than you keep. I know
Oh
you
yeah, it
said
is. There's no doubt
about
about it.
Russia. That's a worse stat than all of it. It's only 92.
They have
It's
no
only
business with that kind of a number.
right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you know your history, the more south you are, Africa is the beginning of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just a general statement. I know I won't see it, but I think the minute we realize who we are and what we are and our values and see that what we have done, we can do, we are going to be that much better off. It's going to take some time because the brainwashing was done very well. But we got to work on it. That's why we're here. That's why we do this kind of stuff. So that we know. And I put this slide up for a reason, only because all of these are right answers. I think about back when they were voting and you had to count how many jelly beans in a jar, all kind of crazy stuff. They knew that if given a chance, we as people would dominate. They knew, and so the thing to do is to write the rules, own the guns, own the weapons. I don't care how you look at it, but whenever things were taken, they were basically taken in force. It's everywhere, all over history, all the time. And the concept of doing it has always been the same, is to make people do it. Let's go with the biggest guns. If that's not big enough, let's go back and make some bigger guns and do what we got to do. Nobody was ever at large coerced to do what they wanted them to do. Even Christianity, we talked about it, but Christianity had a white representative in the church for a long time until they realized, hey, you're saying what I want you to say now. I don't have to go. I don't have to be there anymore. So it has always been a forced thing upon us because if given an opportunity, we have always many times shown what we can do and what we have done. And so let's talk about this on the other side, because Masood just talked about it for a minute, and this is a good example, bringing that time into today.
Have you ever considered how the illusion of inclusion has shaped the societal fabric of America? This is a question that may seem simple at the surface, yet it is layered with complexities that have been woven through the threads of American history. We're talking about the illusion of inclusion, a phenomenon where a certain group of people appears to be part and parcel of a society, but in actuality, they are not fully integrated. This is not a story of clear-cut exclusion, but a more subtle yet equally damaging form of discrimination. Today, we aim to explore this concept within the context of African American history, a saga steeped in struggle and resilience, one that has been marred by the mirage of inclusion. It's a journey that will take us through the back streets of time, unearthing the truths that have been hidden beneath the surface. Let's dive into the intriguing history of African American inclusion, or better said, the illusion thereof. The story begins in the early 1600s when the first enslaved Africans were brought to America. This marked the inception of a dark period in American history, where human beings were commodified, traded, and exploited for labor under brutal conditions. Slavery was not just a system of labor, it was a system of dehumanization that stripped Africans of their identities, cultures, and rights, reducing them to the status of property. Fast forward to the year 1863, and we encounter a change of federal public policy for the enslaved Africans, the Emancipation Proclamation. This seminal document, issued by President Abraham Lincoln, declared that all enslaved people in the Confederate States shall be thenceforward, and forever free. Yet, while the proclamation signaled a shift in the tide, it was not the magic wand that it seemed to be. The Emancipation Proclamation indeed ended the legal institution of slavery, but it did not end racial discrimination or guarantee civil rights. It did not promise economic security or social equality. In many ways, it created an illusion of freedom. The formerly enslaved were technically free, but they were trapped in a system that continued to view them as inferior, that continued to limit their opportunities, and that continued to exploit their labor. The Reconstruction era that followed the Civil War saw a brief period of progress with the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and provided the right to vote, respectively. However, these constitutional changes were met with fierce resistance, leading to the rise of Jim Crow laws, segregation, and systemic racism, all of which effectively stifled the spirit of these amendments. So, while the Emancipation Proclamation was a significant step forward, it was just the beginning. It marked the start of a long, arduous journey towards true freedom and equality, a journey that would be marked by setbacks and victories, despair and hope, resistance and resilience. The Emancipation Proclamation marked the start of a long journey towards true inclusion. With the end of the Civil War, a new era of segregation and discrimination began, known as the Jim Crow era. This period, spanning the late 19th and early 20th centuries, was characterized by a series of laws and social customs that aimed to maintain racial hierarchy. In theory, these laws upheld the principle of separate but equal. However, the reality was far from it. The facilities and services designated for African Americans were grossly inferior to those for white people. Schools, hospitals, and even public restrooms were segregated, leading to a drastic disparity in quality and accessibility. And then there was the infamous Plessy versus Ferguson case in 1896. Homer Plessy, a man of mixed race, challenged the segregation laws by sitting in a whites-only railway car. When he was arrested, he fought back, arguing that his constitutional rights had been violated. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, where the separate but equal doctrine was upheld. This ruling cemented the legality of racial segregation, giving it the backing of the highest legal authority in the land. It's important to remember that the illusion of equality was not just enforced through legislation, but also through a culture of fear and intimidation. Lynchings, violence, and other forms of racial terrorism were used to suppress African Americans and maintain the status quo. The message was clear: stepping out of the racial boundaries set by society would result in severe consequences. But the African American community did not remain silent. They resisted, fought back, and organized. They challenged the system in courtrooms, in schools, in the streets, and in their daily lives. They refused to accept the illusion of equality, and their struggle paved the way for the civil rights movement. Despite the legal end of segregation, the fight for true equality was far from over. The legacy of the Jim Crow era continues to shape the social, political, and economic landscape of America. And while we've made significant progress, the echoes of segregation and the illusion of equality still linger. In the mid-20th century, the civil rights movement emerged, fighting for the end of racial discrimination. This era was marked by brave individuals and pivotal moments that have since become the pages of history. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, among others, stood at the forefront, leading the charge for equality and justice. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were significant legislative victories, promising an end to racial segregation and ensuring voting rights for African Americans. These laws seem to suggest a new era of acceptance and equal opportunity for African Americans, creating what can be seen as an illusion of acceptance. On the surface, these acts presented a picture of a nation ready to embrace its diverse citizens fully. However, the reality was far more complex. While these laws were undeniably crucial steps toward equality, they did not erase systemic racism and discrimination that had been deeply ingrained in American society for centuries. In fact, despite these legislative achievements, African Americans continued to face substantial barriers. Systemic racism persisted in the form of housing discrimination, educational disparities, and unequal employment opportunities. These issues were not solved by the stroke of a pen on a legislative document, but required a deeper societal change. The illusion of acceptance was further perpetuated by the media and popular culture, which often portrayed a more progressive society than was the reality. This disparity between the perception and reality of racial acceptance created a complex and challenging landscape for African Americans to navigate. Despite the strides made during the civil rights movement, it became clear that the fight for true acceptance and equality was far from over. The civil rights movement was a monumental step, but it did not end the struggle for equality and acceptance. Fast forward to today, where the fight for true inclusion continues. In our modern society, racial profiling, police brutality, and economic disparities are still prevalent issues that African Americans face daily. These are not mere statistics or abstract concepts. They are lived realities that many African Americans confront every day. Consider racial profiling, a practice where individuals are targeted based on the color of their skin rather than any credible evidence of wrongdoing. This deeply entrenched bias not only perpetuates the cycle of mistrust and fear, but also reinforces harmful stereotypes that continue to marginalize African Americans. In the same vein, police brutality remains a pressing issue. The tragic and unnecessary deaths of countless African Americans at the hands of law enforcement have sparked widespread outrage and calls for reform.
Question. We talked about the Bible, and we talked about how in the Bible was against anti-Black, anti-African. And then we looked at today, and we talk about an illusion of inclusion. Have we really made any progress today as people under the rule of separate but equal, or under the rule of what I don't want to say democracy, under the rule of what this country calls law and its laws and its order? Where are we now as we speak right now versus where we were? Wow, I don't know where to go back to. I was going to say the 60s, but even before that. Where are we? Have we made any progress at all? And if so, what is it, and how do we capture that now with all the things that are being taken away by the laws and the rules that are in power now? How do you deal with that? It didn't just start. Go ahead.
I think we're better off with just pretending and not racist. They're just bad off as we are. They're not. I mean, the majority of people are economically in the same boat as we are, as far as being not necessarily being wealthy, because there's a small percentage of people holding all the money. And I think our middle class is not the same as their middle class. Everybody's not equal in regards to that, but poor people are poor people. And I think if we could walk down the street and be safe to the point where you have a better chance at making it home the way, not like how it used to be, like before, you wanted to keep everybody home.
Yeah. I think about something when I think about Black Wall Street as an example. 12,000 people needed 5 policemen. 12,000 people needed 5 policemen. And when you go way back, and you go back to, correct me if I'm wrong, there were no policing powers in the early African ancestry. There was no need for it. There was a meiotic format. People respected the meiotic format because in it is also harmony. And so there was not a need for that until you develop this Anglo in the cave attitude about doing things. And it didn't just start in the cave. Well, let's go back, because we just got through talking about biblical and creating events and people and actions in a book that would control the people. You create the book, you tell the people this is what you go by, and if you don't believe it, I'm going to rewrite the book. There was definitely never an idea of being separate but equal with those people. There's always been the need to dominate. There's always been the want to dominate. The question is, what are we going to do about it now? How are we going to look at that now? How are we going to work toward that now? What steps can we make going forward? What can we do? And I'll say this in the form of a question. Was integration good for us?
No. We were better off segregated if we can get them to leave us alone. That's the major problem. It's not whether we can come together and whether we're able to come together and build and get everything we need. We can do that with no problem. It's them leaving us alone.
Yeah.
And it's the poor people. They need somebody to look down on. And if they can't look down on us, then now there's a problem.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave us alone.
In a society where that attitude takes place, and there are members in our culture, in our race, some can last longer than others because of financial stability and things like that. But if you're discriminating because of color or discriminating for whatever reason, even with the writing of the book, the Bible, and the designation, or even the map, we've studied that, even turning the map a certain way so that certain continents are below other continents and things like that. How do you deal with that when the majority of the globe is of color, people of color?
Well, again, the Bible started the pushing war against the children, the kids, the siblings. The Bible told you that it was that God favored one side of the people. Put it out there, and now we fighting over it.
Yeah. And
So again, and when we talk about African traditions, like tribal type stuff, when you look at it as far as you might have had guards and stuff like that to protect the royal families and stuff like that, but to police the people, that's not you're not going to find too many cultures in Africa that's doing it like well now you would of course, but in the tribal times and stuff and now you're not gonna have somebody policing the people because the people police themselves. Everybody held everybody accountable in their tribe. You wasn't gonna have a thief or a rapist in your tribe and the people didn't bring them and had them dealt with in front of everybody. So you didn't have that. It's the like you say, it's the Western world. It's that caveman mentality. I see something I like, I'm gonna beat her across the head and drag her into the cave. And we picked up on that sort of a Stockholm syndrome type thing, where we start picking up the traits of our captives. Because don't forget, y'all, we still captives. That's why we having this conversation now, even in 2026. So the truth is, we have to defragmentate us. First of all, we have to, we can't even come to agreement that we are all the same. How many people on this panel did they DNA test?
yeah. How many?
Well,
I wouldn't want my DNA out there. I don't know what's really happening to that once they give you your results.
and I understand that. I understand that concept. Trust me.
I was
But
saying the same thing.
trust me, I understand that. But I will say this: a lot of fear is conjured up on purpose to deter you from doing certain things. And I'm not saying that they're not doing something to your DNA, this and that, this and that, this. But I would tell you the importance, aside from the like thinking of things like that, but the importance of doing your DNA test will be actually part of connecting each other to each other.
So you think
We
more
go ahead.
more research in the form of DNA or knowing more about your own ancestry via DNA first may inspire a lot of people to say, hey, wait a minute, let me find out who my people are and find out that we're really connected. And
That's the vibration that they don't want you to have.
yeah,
They, again, remember, we all vibrate, and we all remember the Tuskegee experiment, right? That's actually deep into our ancestral memory, right? And so a lot of Black people don't like to go to the doctor. Rightfully so. We should not trust these people at all. Remember, be incredulous, be always questioning things. At the same time, we also scientifically illiterate. We historically illiterate. It's done on purpose, y'all,
of course.
to deter you from getting to certain things. See, for example, well, they'll tell you to stay away from something, but if you look deep into they little corners of darkness, they're praising the same thing they telling you not to do, and it's on purpose,
Well, on the surface of what you're saying, even voting, even
right?
a simple thing like voting, if voting were not as big a
Important,
thing, why are they going
right?
through all the trouble and spending
Trouble,
all the
right?
money?
Why people died in riots and they did so many different things to try to stop them from voting and stuff like that. Wait, why are they doing what they're doing now? To
Right.
cut out some of the representations and stuff like that so that Black people can't even have autonomy over themselves. You can't even govern over yourself. You got that. You must have the others to make decisions for you. But
Yeah.
voting is not important.
Yeah.
Diabetes run rampant in our community, high blood pressure. Remember James had high hypertension. But I'm saying that kind of stuff, health is a big thing but we don't like to go to the doctor. Why? Because we don't trust people.
Yeah.
We don't want to go get our DNA. And this note's might on Sister Wendy or my great sister Chris. Nothing on that. Trust me, I I understand the fear of stuff like that. Uh, but we don't want to do it because we scared they're gonna do something to our DNA. When they use DNA to solve crimes, hold cases, find people. Did anybody ever see the Samuel L. Jackson little small biography when he went and did his DNA and he found people in Africa and he went to go see him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, we get connect. This is the ways how we get connected for Black people, for Africans, for people of African descent, especially in America. There's nobody in the world like us. I like to say we usually like to say that we are demigod. We are cut from the original man and woman, and unfortunately, we have some of the others inside of us too. Now, I'll give you a good example. How many of us, our families, our elders, 9 times out of 10, our ancestors now, told us that we had Indian in our blood. Grandma had long hair coming down her back, braided, this and that, had milky skin and this and that. But if we don't do the DNA, how could you really prove that you had Indian in you and not European blood in you? You won't know.
Probably some of all of that. And for us, I don't know if we need to do DNA to do that. You should be able to do genealogy and trace your roots. There are classes that teach you how to trace
To do
your
your
genealogy.
genealogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with genealogy without, because it's three things that you're gonna have that's gonna get you together. You're gonna have genealogy, which would be like, this is what the family told us. You trace this back, this and that. You like you said, they have the classes that get you to go to the records and everything. So now you got griot type / storytelling plus the records to match it. But the third thing that you would need is that blood connection. How would you not know from the blood connection? And I give you an example just off of my family. For many years, we've been connected on my mom's side because my dad, I don't know if he ever told y'all, but he's 94% African.
No, I never
I
said.
show y'all the papers. But
I
anyway,
never said anything.
on my mama's side, which the genealogy is very good, they kept records very well. We know all the way to just from stories of our ancestors that came off the boat that was sold as children, and we know the family they were sold to and everything. We have the records, we have the stories. Now, this is the great part for me. When I did my DNA test, two things I found out. One, the storytelling of us being so connected to the Creek Indian was actually very, 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 very small. I mean, you might not even, it was so small, you might not even, you shouldn't even, right? And the second thing that I discovered, what we discovered was that the storytelling and the records matched the DNA test because we was actually able to trace it back to the tribe that our ancestors came from. So again, just like the Bible, if you don't have all of the stories, how much weight are you going to put into that? Or are we just going to continue just regurgitating things that may be true and may not be true?
Yeah. All the more reason. All the more reason to be due diligence, because when you know individually what you're dealing with, then you know who you are. Would be a good feeling to know. And it doesn't matter what it ends up being, at least you'll know. Because like you said, the European blood in us may be, you may not want it, but it may be there in a higher percentage than you want. It's not your fault, but it's there. I want to say that even if that number is high, and I'm going to go along with history when they say if you got a small percent African blood and you're still African. Um, I'm
Well,
a
but
proud
now who
black man.
said that? That's
I'm,
that's not
I'm
that's
a
not gonna
proud
be
black
true.
man, so I have to say it that way.
Well, that's not gonna be true because then now see again, that's that illusion to inclusion. They realized how lush Africa was, so they attached themselves to it. So the one drop blood thing, that's kind of crazy.
Of
If you
course it
think
was
about
crazy.
that. Huh?
Of course it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know you was being, yeah, but that's really crazy because not, you're now entering yourself into what I would call as an exclusive club, you know. But again, I would say this about the DNA also. Um, well, even just to stay with use my family as an example. I have 14% Actually 13% European, 1% Native Indian. That's what my mom. So to tell y'all, my Creek stories went out the window. But
But you know
but
what? That history is still something you should know. The history,
well,
that
yeah.
history is something you should know because it is all tied.
Well, then you're gonna find out too that if you do have Indian blood and you like that, not everybody, not all black, but if you do, or the majority, 9 times out of 10, your ancestors was enslaved by them too.
Yeah, I was gonna
They
I was
held
gonna
them.
say that next. Remember that the Africans were slaves, and they did marry them, and they did. Matter of fact, we're leading up to the Black Wall Street and the Sarah's oil and the whole 9 yards. But what's the thing in North Carolina, right out of North Carolina? I'm sorry, on the east side, Hilton
You
Head is there now. I can't think of the name
Hilton
of
Head, you got
What are
the
you
you
talking about,
Gullah-Geechees and
Carl?
all.
Greenbrow and
The
Right,
Gullah-Geechees.
right.
Yeah. Well, what happens is that you'll find out that that migratory move, the Indians, I mean, they didn't want that. They ended up out west. The Seminoles even. We're talking about Indians who were uplifted and moved because, quote, the promised land was promised to somebody else. Just like in the Bible, that promised land was already occupied by somebody else. And these Indians had to move. So history is something that we look at it because if you're not aware of it, it repeats itself. They keep doing it over and over and over and over again. That's why I asked the question, what kind of things would we be looking at now? Now that we know, and I'm going to make this statement, integration wasn't good for us. We thought it was. But what are we going to do about it now? How are we going to take something to think about? You know, answers may not come right away. We've got time. We've got things we've got to work on internally as people across the world because we're everywhere. But if we can get community in mind, we can make a lot of moves. But community in mind becomes very, very important, especially today when we are so separated physically. So something to think about. Let me look at the time. We've gone again. I don't want to get too far. It's 8:11. Yeah, something to think about because as we study all of these things, there is a reason for studying them because we just talked about your subconscious mind and how once you learn something, it's there. You may forget it tonight, but it's there. And once you put it inside of you, you got it. It is a part of your makeup going forward. And so you are the sum total of what you are inside. That is your subconscious. But we're feeding that. Every Tuesday, we feed it. Every Tuesday, we put something in it. This is why we're here. While we're doing that, I had something else too. I know time's gone on me. This book, moving right along, we got to cover all these things. This book, we talked about it, is very, very good book to read, and it's on Hoopla. If you can't buy the book or don't want to read it, the history in this book is very good. It's the unwhitewashed story of America. And I wanted to bring this up because this was interesting the other day when I was in the book. It's flip through the book, Carl. Let me see what you got. Chapter 7, the Black Emancipation Proclamation. And I ran across this and I found it to be interesting. In December of 1822, South Carolina, and we got people in the group who are in the Carolinas. It's kind of interesting. The legislature passed the Negro Seamen's Act in response to the Denmark-Vesey conspiracy. Denmark-Vesey, look it up. I won't go into detail. It's a slave uprising, and And it created a problem because it woke up, they thought it would wake up people who were slaves all around, just like Haiti did. When Haiti did what it did, the folks in the colonies say, hey, we got it. If you need our help, we'll help you, because we do not want these people to think that they can do what Haiti did. So in that slave uprising is earlier in Charleston, that was in South Carolina, the Negro Seaman Act was designed to prevent the local slave population from revolting against the authorities. As a result, free Black sailors entering the port of Charleston were apprehended upon arrival to prevent them from spreading ideas of revolution and freedom to local slaves. In other words, you good, you're American, you fight for us and whole 9 yards, but when you get to port, you got to go to jail, because the mere fact that you're, quote, an established, upstanding Black person may make some of these slaves think differently. So the northern states and foreign nations whose seamen were imprisoned in Charleston jails without committing a crime were appalled. And an attorney stressed that South Carolina did have a power to pass such a law, and it was a power upon the exercise of which her dearest and most vital interests depended on. That such a power is rightful and an inalienable attribute to the sovereign state, that its exercise must depend on the views of policy, upon the individual discretion of the state, which can alone safely decide the matters involving self-preservation. I want to mention this happened in South Carolina. Let me flip through the pages, because it says eventually Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi and Texas passed the same law. And I wanted to bring this up, and the book is good. I mean, you get in the book really goes into detail a lot of stuff. But we need to know, and that's why I said it's an illusion. I mean, we have to understand that we don't need, I'm going to say anything that they offer us. If they leave us alone, and Chrissy said it, if they would just get out of the way and leave us alone, we'd be okay. But they understand that if they did that, they wouldn't do as well as they do. Or the competition would be very stiff, let me put it that way, or on a higher scale. But we got to know these things happen. Yeah, go ahead.
The way the Asian people are upset now and being boycotted because they rely on us. We're putting their kids through college.
That's right. That's right. That is absolutely right. And bear in mind that the 13 colonies, when this country was set up, fails many, many, many times until the same Africans and Indians, and Africans mostly, came in and helped them to survive. They were in the process of, quote, eating themselves. They would eat the females. If you were pregnant, they would eat female, because you couldn't be pregnant and be a female. They actually did this. There are records of them doing this, cannibals. But we have to understand what we're looking at and the people we're dealing with even today. What is it? Is sulfur versus selenium, David? The two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, sulfur,
Selenium,
or
the
amino
acid.
acid.
There you go. You have to understand what you're dealing with. We got to learn. We got to see it. We got to ask questions. We got to read about it. We got to look it up. We got to know who these people are. It's very, very important, because they gave us Martin Luther King forever and ever and ever. The kids were always writing, Martin Luther King. What are you writing about? Martin Luther King. There was a reason for them giving you that hero alone. And we got to deal with that going forward.
Hey, Carl, could you put that book back up, please? The front of it?
Let's see if I can.
Yeah. There we go.
Does anybody know what the AF stand for? You don't have to say it, but it is a great book. Please add that to your library. It is a great book. I was actually trying to find it in PDF for you guys, which kind of leads up to where I'm going now with this. David, help me if I can. I was actually, Wendy, I owe you an apology. I owe everybody an apology for not getting things to you because I know 2 weeks of videos, Wendy, I owe to you. I don't know who else want them. Tonight, this one is also on video. And like I said, we're trying to lead to being on YouTube so we don't have that issue. But it would be good to have access to all this stuff when you want to go back and look at it and or review it. Because the information is going to be stuff that it's going to take you forward. I don't care how old you are on this call, we're all going to use it to go forward. So I had some books. I know I talked about
Mr. Carl,
yes, ma'am.
that book also has a workbook because I got the workbook to it too.
Which one? Black AF?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it had a workbook.
Yes, I got it.
Thanks for telling me that because I'm going to go back and
Okay.
get it. That book is you. What you think? That book is the bomb.
It's pretty good.
It is very good. It is very, very. And I wanted to mention that I did a passage out of the book called As a Man Thinketh. If you want that, let me know. I can put that. I have that in PDF, meaning I can send it out as a text or something like that. So we have it. Those of us who've been in the group for a while, we've actually gone through that book. That's one of the basic metaphysical books that is used to explain thinking and the mechanism tied to the way you think and how your system works. So
I would like it.
okay. But who all? Let's do this now, and then I can get some help. When do you want the copy of As a Man Thinketh?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's you, Chris. Who's over there with you? Is that Kyla?
No, that was somebody else.
Oh, okay. Who else?
That was my grandbaby.
That's what my baby.
Okay, so that's Wendy and Chris wants a copy of As a Man Thinketh. Curtis, Chip, I don't know, you may have the book. We went through it. It may have been before you joined the group.
Yeah, I think I got it, Carl, but
Yeah.
it's just the idea, I packed it up and haven't unpacked anything, hardly.
Okay. Let me know if you need it or when we send it. Maybe it's a matter of adding the addresses to it once I put it in an email or something, so I can send it
I
out.
believe that was before I joined the group, Carl. If you could send a copy, I appreciate it.
Okay, Chip, you got it. Wendy's got it. There was another book that we talked about, and Wendy sent me the one that she bought. That's the Ethiopian Bible. Did everybody get that?
Got it.
Chip, you got it? The Ethiopian
I
Bible?
don't have it, but I'll look into getting it.
Okay. Wendy, you got yours. Let's see, Bernard and Leonard are not on here. David, we talked about it. I was supposed to
But
say
it's the PDF,
yes.
brother Chip. It's not the. So he was trying to see if you got that PDF that
The
he sent out.
PDF version of that Ethiopian Bible. It's the full version. It has basically everything in it that you'll need as for reference going forward. Wendy, it is not as in detail as the one you got. You got some extra stuff in yours that is good to have. That's not necessary, but it's very good to have. This version, PDF, is a complete version. And I can send you this too if you want it, if you keep in files like that.
Yes.
Right. I'm looking at something else that I might. So the last two videos, I know, Wendy, I know I owe you them. The last two videos of our Tuesday night meeting. Anybody else need those videos? Last two videos. Wendy. When we do actually put it on, it'll be accessible, and we're going to go back to the ones that I have. I think I may have 6 altogether. So when we go to YouTube, we'll put them all on there. I just can't tell you exactly when that's going to be. So
way before the next.
say that again now.
Way before the next session.
Before the next session?
Yeah, probably had it up and running in a couple of days.
I mean, it's already there. We actually have it. We just got to clean it up and make it work, basically, and then turn it over to you guys. We'll go from there. So it may be next week, and we get a chance to do it. We'll see how it works out. So the last 2 videos, that's Wendy, David, the Bible. Anybody else need the Bible? Everybody else? Chip, you said you did have it or you didn't have it?
Said I don't have it.
Okay, I got you down. And Curtis, you and Rosie, you got the PDF version of the Ethiopian Bible? Wendy, let me see what else I got here.
You talking about the Bible,
Yeah.
Carl?
The Ethiopian Bible.
Yeah, I got it.
You did get them. Okay, so
Yeah.
you guys don't need that. All right. I'm gonna stop there for now. There's a couple other books. Let's get these out of the way because this will catch me up in a way. I kind of fell behind in the stuff. So I apologize, but we'll get this stuff out. As a man thinketh, and we'll send this out. So I appreciate all the help, everybody. Let's see, where are we? We are still in this book, y'all. Probably what I'll do one day is just crash into that chapter and talk about how Napoleon did what he did in Kemet and then left Kemet, and how Kemet evolved or was, some people call it raped over time, but that's the chapter that we're in. We're still going to do it because we need to know. So I will get into that. It's 26 after now. But tonight we did okay. Anything anybody else had? Anything, any topics, any issues, any questions that anybody had?
I know y'all was talking about the war earlier. Well, I was just getting on, but I was in the store today and I heard a girl telling another guy about how this war had something to do with Esau and Jacob. Have you ever heard anything like that?
How Esau and Jacob. Say that again, Wendy. Say it.
A girl was telling another guy that this war is centered around Esau and Jacob.
Oh, the world.
And she told, the war. And
The
she
war.
told him to go back and go study.
Oh.
So I was going to ask your son about that.
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I can't answer that.
Well, you know the story with Esau and Jacob.
Yeah.
And then, depending on who you're talking to, a lot of people would say Esau is the white man. Right? And say that we would be from the tribe of Jacob, depending on who you talk to. But I wouldn't say I'm not sure why she would say that this particular war is about that per se.
Right.
Again, remember, this would be, honestly, if you look at it, just look at the surface of it. You got Netanyahu. What is he? He's Jewish. So you got, and then what is the Iranians? They Muslims. So you got a war that's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It's just named something different now. The Trump war now, or you know what I'm saying? But it's the same war of over the lands.
Yeah.
You got synagogues that's across the street from um mosque, literally over there in Israel. And so they fighting over the land per se. It's not necessarily when you look at the story of Jacob and Esau and the promise that the father was to give to the sons and how the mother I, I don't know if you know the story how the mother helped help Esau to because the promise was supposed to be given to Jacob. And remember the father was blind. That's actually metaphysical. We can explain that next week. But to answer your question, I'm not sure why she equated it with the war
Right.
going on right now. I think she was on the trail, but then she kind of lost her foot. And I think she just knows some things and she wanted them to research some things, but like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, when you look at it, this is about the land,
It is.
the promised land and who deserves the land and who God promised this land and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
And remember, in
and
history,
money too.
that promised land was occupied initially. How
Well,
could it be promised to these people and then it already be occupied? And the other side of that is we talk about God, God, and we talk about how many wars were fought for this one thing, God, God, which is supposed to be served by everybody. There should never be a war that's religious, but most of them have all been religious. The land and all of that came as it's an excuse, if you will, because my God's bigger than your God and my God's better than your God. Well, what happened to God, the God that's the creator of all people, looking at everybody the same way? So when you look at the common sense tied to what's going on, it makes no sense at all. There are excuses for and reason, not reasons, they're actually excuses for things that are being done. It's a good story, that Esau and Jacob story. I don't know if everybody's familiar with it. You might want to bring it up a little bit next week. We don't have
yeah,
time.
we could. That's a deep story.
Yes, it is. Most certainly is.
It's a metaphysical story too.
Yeah.
It's about the one that feels like they deserve,
Right.
even though somebody might be assigned the blessing. Do you feel like you deserve to have the blessing? That was the whole reason for the mama to coat the son with the older son smell and hair because he was a hunter. And we could get into it next week.
Yeah. Let me take a note of it. Maybe something we spend a couple minutes in. To bring everybody up to date. I mean, we need to be on top of these things. It's very important. Very, very important. Very,
Okay,
very,
thank
very.
y'all.
Hey, listen,
No
thanks
problems.
everybody. I appreciate it. And here we are at the prayer of protection. And we can together, uh, the light of God surrounds us, the
The
love of
love of
God
God
enfolds us,
enfolds us.
the
The
power of God
power of God
protects us,
protects us.
and the presence of
Presence
God
of
watches over
God
us.
watches over us.
Wherever we are,
God is.
God is. Thanks, everybody. Uncle Jocelyn now.
Aren't you, Doc Chanel?
This is Jocelyn.
Yeah, Uncle Jocelyn.
Good night.
Uncle
Good
Jocelyn.
night.
Night,
Good night. Good
everybody.
Good
night. Good
night.
night.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more about thinking, time for thinking ahead. World has changed so very much what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Oh, oh. Big up all the teachers, taught to teach us the way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up. The world is in their hands. When you teach the children just the very best.